Welcome to the next lesson. In this lesson, we'll be learning how to create a weight lift. Okay, and remember, like we did the first time, we would create a fake user for the jump, duplicate that action, we'll title this weight, then we'll delete every keyframe from this action. Yep. We'll switch to object mode, select everything, and we'll create a new collection for it. Press M to create a new collection. We'll just name this props. So these collections are like layers. Remember the outline. If you come to outline, you'd find the props. So it's under a collection. You can choose to, then we'll choose to turn this off. If you click this to exclude this from the layer. So select my character, switch to object mode, select everything, clear out every rotation, transform and scale, so everything is back to normal. Okay, and we'll switch back to object mode to create our weight. So what do we want our object to carry? What do we want our character to carry? And there's no better way to put this. We'll just create a weight lift for it. So we'll create a weight for a gym. There's a way it's called. Is it dumbbell? It's been a long time I went to the gym, and even when I went, I still don't know the names of all the equipment. So I'll rotate this along the y-axis. I believe you remember how to model. Scale it in, then scale it out on the x-axis. Move it forward on the y. Maybe just scale it up a bit. Look at it from the front view. Move it up. I think I should just scale it out a bit so it's thick, then scale it in on the x-axis. So I'll set the cursor to this cylinder, or to the rod if you want to call it. I'll do that by pressing Shift S, set cursor to selected. So whatever is selected, the cursor will snap to it. So while that is selected, I'll add a circle. I'll add a circle to that. There's a little menu here. You open it, set this to n-gun so it fills the hole. Then we'll reduce this to like 16. Then we'll reduce the radius to like a 0.3, or let's say 0.5. 0.5. That's it. We'll switch to edit mode. While everything is still selected, I'll rotate it along the y-axis 90 degrees. Okay, then move this along the x-axis, maybe somewhere here. Okay, and want to create like a weight, so let it look like it's really heavy, so it gives an illusion that this is really a heavy gym equipment. So we'll extrude. Okay, select everything, press Ctrl B to bevel, just bevel that edge a bit, then duplicate it by pressing Shift D to extrude again, Shift D to extrude Shift D to duplicate it along the x-axis. So we now have a more robust, gym equipment. So if you give me this kind of weight, I would swear for you. If you give me this weight to carry, I would be very pissed. So I'll press Shade Smooth, come to my object data here, find normal, and set Auto Smooth. Okay, So I want to mirror it to the other side of the rod. So I'll do that by pressing my modifiers. You're coming to my modifier. You already know what to do. Set mirror modifier. Okay, so I guess our rod, I think we should just select the rod as the mirror object. So click our eyedropper here, eyedropper button here, and select the rod. Unfortunately, that didn't work. So the reason why that didn't work is because the rod itself, the origin is still set to the center of the wall. So we have to clear out, we'll apply the transform, apply everything, set origin to the geometry. I believe that should work now. So if I select the cylinder or the rod now, everything should work fine. So bear that in mind, that when the origin is not set, you might have run into this issue. You might have to run into this issue. So for some reason I'm still seeing box look, my gym equipment is looking as if it has some boxy, you know, look to it. So we'll add a subdivision modifier to smooth that out. Fortunately it didn't work. I don't think it really matters, really. I mean, we're trying to get a precise, we're just trying to create an illusion for a gym equipment. So I don't think it really matters that like that. So we'll just leave it the way it is. And now we can animate our character. So before we do that, I'll have to parent this to the rod. So when I lift the rod, it goes, when I lift the rod, the rest of the equipment follows suit. So select this first one, hold down shift, select the rod, press Ctrl P, then I parent it with object and keep transform. So when I lift my rod now, everything follows. Great. I think I should smooth out my rod, set auto smooth. Okay, now it's time to animate our character. So we'll move our character into position. Yo, this is going to be heavy for this guy. So we'll move our character into position, select everything, select our root bone, move it in the y-axis. So we move it into position. Like I always say, we are working with references. I'll switch to the image editor. Always work with reference. Always work with a reference. Oops. Always work with references. So there are 3 references I'll be using in this video. So the first one would be this one. So there are different references we would use. So this is the first one. Starting position, get ready, then pull, then it lifts up. You get, so like this is really amazing in the sense that, I mean, your imaginations can actually run wild. You can play it in a way that the character can't actually lift this weight. Okay, you can pose it in a way that it can't lift it. Just let your imagination run wild. But the reason why I want us to follow these references is because it's the basic class. I mean, in your own spare time, you can pose it however you want and it will still give you the same result. All right, so let's start. I think there's something I want to talk about first before that. Okay, before we move on, we start posing in the characters. There's something called constraints. So if you come here, click on this object constraint. So I'll close this one. Object constraint. So constraint is kind of like parenting your character to an object, but for constraints, it gives you the liberty to either animate that that object, or okay, gives you the liberty to interact with the objects, like drop the object or lift it up. So it gives you that little liberty, or that little space. But for parenting, once you parent the object to the character, you've parented it, it's not, you can't actually, you know, drop the object anymore. You can't drop the object, the object will be parented to. Let's say I parent this equipment, I parent it to the hands, or parent it to the torso. Let's say I parent it. Now let's do it. Let's practice it. I parent it to this root bone, to this bone. All right, wherever I move this root bone, this object will follow suit. I can't actually drop it. I can't drop it. There's no interaction. It just follows as it's supposed to, because it's parented to the object. Okay, but for constraints, it gives you that edge, gives you that liberty to, you know, pick up the object, drop the object, pick up the object, drop the object. So that's what we'll be using. We'll be using constraint. So the first thing we're going to do is key out this first pose, then I'll show you how to add constraint to your object. So let's do that right away. Okay, so you know how we do it. Okay, so we'll spread the legs to give the character balance. So we'll just move this leg to, let's say, along the y-axis, or copy it, Control Shift V to paste it to the other way, the other leg. I think it's too wide, so I'll just reduce it a bit. Okay, I think that's fine. And I also think it's too close to the character, and the proportion is too distinct. My point is that the equipment is too big. It's too big for, I mean, in comparison to the character, it's too large. So we have to reduce it just a bit there. Bring this down. So the character has, you know, it's more like, it shows superiority to the equipment, just like we have here. So the character is bigger than, is way bigger than the equipment itself. So let's go back to pose mode. Remember our torso, would move that down just a bit there and rotate it. Rotate the spine, also rotate the spine. Now for the arms, for these arms, when lifting weights, for weight lifting, it's advisable to use IK. Okay, it's FK would never work for this, so IK gives you that liberty to, you know, to move your hands wherever you want to. So while this control is selected, I'll snap to IK, so I can actually move my hands. And so when I lift it up, it actually, you have this you know, this feel to your animation. So you can actually see it gives that natural, it's more natural this way, whereas the other IK will be more too mechanical if you try to, and it will be difficult for you to pose. Okay, so I'll pose this one here, I'll select this other I'll select the other IK hand, switch to switch from FK to IK, select this one. So while this is selected, I'll actually click on this other IK, the left IK, Control C, Control Shift V to paste it there. So I think we'll do the same thing for the head. We'll turn off that head control and animate it manually. So you can actually animate the head manually, and we'll move the pose. I think that we'll leave it as default. We'll leave the pose at default. I think I like it the way it is. and for some reason I also think it's too close. It's too close to the object. Okay, so let's move the hands into position. If you notice, I mean, by now I believe you have to be familiar with the Control Shift V, like copying the flip, pose to the other side. You have to be familiar with it by now. Oops. So I'll move this pole. Looking at it from the front view, I'm actually posing this right here. Copy and paste it. I think I should bring it down. I'm just checking this arc. If you notice this arc here, just checking this arc. So there has to be like an arc. So it has. I mean, so it helps you gather momentum when you're lifting a weight. So your hands are not actually straight, as it were, except in the second pose. So this first pose, we have to strike that arc there. Okay, so let's pose the fingers. You've noticed that the rod is way thicker than the fingers, the hands. Let's switch to object mode. I'll select the rod. Don't try to reduce the rod from the object mode, because if you try to do that, the rest of the equipment will scale accordingly. So you switch to edit mode, select while the rod is selected. I'll just edit the size just a little bit, scale it along the x-axis again. Yeah, and let's switch back to object mode. I'll select the rig, switch to pose mode. So let's pose the fingers. You already know how to do this. So let's switch to wireframe. So I would find open this. So you want to take your time and pose these fingers to wrap around the rod. Don't worry, you'll still copy it to the other side, to the right hand. So what I'm doing, I'm just rotating, pressing R twice to rotate it into position, then press S to close or to have that curve. Awesome. So look at it from different angles. So if I look at it from the back, you notice that the fingers, the pinky has entered into actually intersecting into the other fingers. So select this one too again. So 4. So I also think another issue Let's see if I can rotate this along the x-axis, move it forward. So like I said in the previous class, I mean, you just have to learn to train your eyes. I mean, you know what looks great and you know what doesn't look great. So box select to select everything, or copy, Control Shift V to paste it at the other side, so you can see that both hands are grabbing the object. All right, great. So the next thing now we have to look at is constraints. So, and I think I should show you that in the next lesson. So in the next lesson, I'm going to show you, I'm going to dive deeper into constraints. Then we start animating this character. So see you in the next lesson. Bye.